What's up guys, Ben Melican here for Mystery Tackle Box. You know, one of the most important skills to learn as an angler before you ever even take to the water is to learn how to properly spool line onto a spinning reel. You know, fishing line is the most important connection point between you and that fish, so obviously spooling it on there properly is going to be extremely important. So in today's video, I'm going to show you exactly how you need to spool line onto a spinning reel and give you a couple tips and tricks that will help you a ton on the way. Now before we start talking about putting line on the reel, let's get a basic understanding of the three main parts of the reel we're going to be talking about in this video. So the first we're going to talk about is the spool. The spool is where the line's actually going to wrap around and go onto the reel. So that's very, very simple. Of course, there's the handle. The handle is what we're going to be turning to allow the reel to engage and spin and allow that line to go onto the reel. And then of course the bail. The bail is this piece right here. If you flip it open, it's open. It allows you to cast the spinning reel. If you close it back up, that allows you to crank the line onto the reel. So now that we're ready to spool the line onto the reel, it's important to notice that when you crank the handle on a spinning reel, the bail moves around the spool of the spinning reel in a clockwise manner. For that reason, we're going to want this line to come off our spool in a clockwise manner as well. That way it lays on the spinning reel much more evenly and there'll be much fewer line twists. So before we set the spool line down on whatever object we're going to be placing it on, it's important to notice which way the line comes off of that spool. Most of the time, the side that has the label on it will cause the line to come off in a counterclockwise fashion. For that reason, on this spool line, we're simply going to flip it over, place that spool line down on whatever object, on the ground, on your boat, whatever you're going to be using, and make sure it's coming off the spool in a clockwise manner. So now that we got the spool line set on our boat or ground or whatever we're using in the proper manner, we're going to take the end of that line and run it through the last guide before the reel. I don't feel it's necessary to run it through the entire rod. You can do that if you so please, but going through that last guide allows it to come through the rod instead of directly onto the reel, which simulates a little bit more naturally what you're going to have as it comes through the rod, and it goes on a lot easier. So the first thing you're going to want to do after you run it through that last guide is to open up your bail. I can't tell you how many times I've tied my knot on the reel with the bail engaged. At that point, you simply just have to cut that knot and open it back up. Now that we got a good knot tied onto our spool, we can flip that bail over and begin the spooling process. Now the most important part to the entire spooling process to get that line on properly is to keep tension on the line. Now if you're by yourself, that can be achieved by holding the line between your two fingers very, very tightly before it goes onto the spool. You don't want to hold on so tight that it's burning your fingers, but you want to hold it tight enough that that line stays nice and straight throughout the process. You know, one way this can be achieved very, very easily if you have a friend to help you out is for them to take a pencil, screwdriver, whatever you have available, and hold it on both sides of the spool nice and firmly. One last tip I can give you guys to avoid a lot of tangles and coils in the future as you're using your reel is to avoid putting too much line on the reel. That's the #1 cause for all different types of coils and issues you'll have as you're casting that allows that line to jump off your reel is by putting too much line on it. So I like to leave about 1/8 of an inch between the edge of the line and the edge of that spool. I found that to be just about perfect. So now that I've showed you guys how to properly spool a spinning reel, you should be able to take to the lake and go catch a ton of great fish and create a bunch of new memories. Thanks a ton for watching, guys, and tight lines.